So here's my feeling. Here's my feeling on my am I gay or straight? I prefer not to use a label like that. I try to call myself simply sexy to the core, and I will sleep with whoever I feel like it. That tends to be women, but I'm not going to not love or sleep with someone simply because I checked a box somewhere that said that I was straight. I would consider myself a political bisexual. I have been with men. I probably will again, but because of the way I'm wired, the man has to be really beautiful. So men don't make me feel the same tingly way that women do. But as far as labels go, I'm against them. And then as far as being shy, it's funny that when I was, and I think I've told the story here, and I have it online of when I was on that game show Studs in college, and at the time, so I was in college, I had super long hair, drove to Riverside where the clubs were. Shows you how what the nightlife was like in Redlands. Went to Riverside to go to the Australian Beach Club, which is where women in bikinis would serve beers out of jacuzzis. Classy place, I'm telling you. And they were doing sign-ups for the game show Studs. And if you don't know that game show, then you are younger than me. It was one of the first of the... Well, there was Love Connection, I think, 2 and 2 with Chuck Woolery. And then there was Studs. And Studs was one or two guys would go out with the same three women. I was told there'd be no math. And then the girls would say stuff about their dates, and the guys had to try to guess which women said about their dates. Anyway, it was very popular in the early 90s, I guess. This was a different time on television. We didn't have so many channels. Fox was new. I think this was on Fox. And so they were doing sign-ups for the show, and I was drunk, and so were a lot of my friends, and so I signed up and for an interview. And part of my reasoning was, I've never asked a woman out on a date. I'm in college. I'm 21 at the time. I'd had women say, women that I knew, that we went to dates and stuff together. I'd hooked up with girls at parties. I'd had kind of girlfriends where we kind of stumbled into being girlfriends, but I'd never actually said, "Hi, my name's John. Would you like to, have dinner?" So I'm like, well, this will be a way to kind of force myself, kind of like if you're afraid of snakes, get in a snake pit, to get over the shyness. And how much time do we have? Well, it was on first glance, it was a horror story. They matched me up because they matched me up with 3 models in LA. They said, here are their names, and here are their numbers, and here are their beeper numbers. And this was early 90s, so I'm like, beeper numbers? Are they doctors or drug dealers? And they said, well, they're actually, they're models. You're a part of Fantasy Week, and it's your fantasy to go out with 3 models. And I was thinking to myself, no, this is a nightmare. Oh, God. And so they give you $50 a date. So here I wasn't from LA. I had to take out 3 LA models in LA and try to impress them with $50 in a city I didn't know. So I promptly, on the first date, the woman was very, very, very nice to me. And I was still of the frame of mind that, well, my thought was this woman is way out of my league. We went to Universal Studios, and I'm like, everyone must think I'm a rock star because this woman is just way out of my league. But she flirted and flirted and flirted, and I was like, wow, maybe she really likes me. And since I'd never been flirted with such a pretty woman before, I fell in love with her. And so even before the date was over, I'm like, I'm not going to pick anyone else. In fact, she was messing with my head, because I remember it rained on us. I may go over. So it was raining, so we're in the car afterwards, and she cranks up the heat. We're sitting there kind of wet and waiting in a traffic jam, and it's getting really hot. And I was like, okay, let me just turn the heat down. And she turns it back up, kind of giggling. And I'm like, oh, let's turn it down. She cranks it all the way up, and I'm kind of like, I'm like, hey, if you keep that up, it's you're going to see me naked a lot sooner than you want to. And she cranks it all the way up again. I was like, and I think I ended up taking off my shirt in the car. So I take off my shirt in the car, and then she grabs my nipple ring, and this wasn't a common thing to have nipple rings at this time. She squeezes it, and she goes, "Fuck me. Fuck me." And my brain went, and then she said, "You remember what movie that's from?" I was like, I didn't know we were playing trivia. Apparently that's a line from Silence of the Lambs. The guy with the nipple ring says that, which I thought was, well, unfair play for a man with shyness issues. Anyway, so she kept asking me, like, how hard I got when I was just like, ugh! And so I drive her home. I'm like, you know what, I don't want to, we kissed and stuff, but I was like, you know, I just want to take you home, and, you know, clearly we're connecting, so I can't wait to see you after we tape the show. I know who I'm going to pick. I'm just going to get through these other 2 dates, and I can't wait to see you again. So the next 2 dates were kind of nightmarish. One woman just got to LA and was so kind of being drawn into this, you know, it was almost painful to see someone so, like, on her way to being a model, and then the third woman was one who was kind of a successful model, and she just, all she wanted to do was tell me about the famous friends of hers, and this and this and this guy and this guy and this guy, and I was like, well, Studs gave me $50, and I live at home, and when the $50 is gone, I'm taking you home. And so took the 3 women out, and then we're not supposed to talk to the women until the taping, which is then a week later. But I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to talk to my dream girl. So I call her up. You know, I'm like, I know I'm not supposed to call. She's like, "What's up?" She's eating something. I'm like, "I'm having dinner." I'm like, "Oh, well, you know, I just couldn't stop thinking about you. You know, I wrote you a poem," which I did. And she's like, okay. Well, we're not. Should we? I'll see you at the taping, okay? And I was like, and she hung up, and I was like, it became very clear all of a sudden that this woman was not going to pick me on the show. That I got, you know, she was just flirting as much as she could with both guys so that she would come across well. So now I was in the position of, here, I went on this show trying to get over my shyness, and now I know that in 1 week I'm going to go on national television and be rejected by 3 women on TV. This was one of the most challenging weeks of my life. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I can't really run away. You know, I thought about it, and then decided, you know what? I'm just gonna. I'm gonna try. My goal 1, don't come across as an asshole. 2, try to come across as like the nice, sensitive guy. For a long time, I thought of myself as, if I get a girlfriend, it'll be because I'm, you know, funny. And then at some point I just surrendered, and I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna just be witty and not try to, you know, just. And so I got psyched up for the show, went on, and I started going in this witty back and forth with the host. All the answers I gave, like, they said, you know, so John, you know, what do you notice first in a woman? And I'm like, I think her skin. Skin's really important to me. I like it to cover the entire body, you know, and all these laughs, everyone's going for it. And so when the show finally ended, and it ended with the women picking Darren, neither Darren, and me being rejected by everybody, I went backstage, and immediately people started going, "Oh my God, I can't believe nobody picked you!" And because it was a very popular show, I heard that over and over and over for the next month whenever I'd go in public. It was, "I can't believe no one picked you," and then, "Oh my gosh, that blonde girl was a bitch." And then, "Can I buy you a drink?" sometimes. And a bunch of things happened. One, my head shifted so that I no longer thought about in terms of that there's people in your league and out of your league. You either connect with somebody or you don't. And 2, I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I, 1, really enjoyed being on stage and getting laughs, and I was really good at being witty on the spot. And so from that, really guided a new part of my life and helped me to get a certain confidence in a certain direction. And for better or for worse, it landed us here today. And legally, I can call myself a stud, so it's a win-win as far as I'm concerned. And I got over the shyness in a lot of ways, because a lot of that recognition that I'm more than I thought I was, and you can't, that every single person's reaction to you, this isn't a caste system where, I can get too big for my britches or whatever. It's just that you just be you as much as possible, and some people are really going to respond to that. Easier said than done, but that's part of the practice. And that's my story of studs.